I made a very exciting discovery today. So exciting, in fact, that I could barely contain myself. You know when you see something good in the charity shop and you think, yeah, if I leave that too long, that's just going to go. It's going to get snapped up. Well, I saw such an item today. Now, I'm going to show you this, but first I'm going to show you an old friend, something we've seen various times on the show before. This is my Super Famicom. This is a games console, and it's a pretty good games console, but it's, it's not the smallest of systems. It's actually not much smaller than the PlayStation 2. Weirdly, it looks bigger than the PlayStation 2, but let's not worry too much about that. Perception and all that. It's quite a big console. I would say it's about average size for a games console. Perhaps you may know where this is going. This is what I've picked up today. Just seeing it on the camera preview there was hilarious enough. Jeepers creepers, yeah, it's a bit of a beast, isn't it, this system? Let's just directly compare and then we'll actually talk about it, shall we? I mean, the SNES is big, but, well, this house brick of a system is big and it's kind of heavy too. So this, in case you hadn't ascertained, is an Xbox. I have wanted one of these for a while. I can't hold it up in front of the camera because it's just too darn heavy. But yes, I've wanted one for a while. It's been sort of one of those I'll get it if I see it kind of deals, but it has been on my radar. And every time I've seen it, it has been way too expensive for what it is. I feel that this generation of consoles in particular is vastly overpriced. I see PlayStation 2s for 50, 60 quid, and I see Xboxes for even more sometimes. But I was lucky enough to get this one for a princely sum of £20 from the charity shop, which is excellent. And I've been assured that it switches on. I'm going to give it a proper test at some point tomorrow. Well, a proper test in that I'll put a game in and see if it plays. And then after that, it'll probably go in a box because, we're packing. But, this system, I'll just show it you again because it's so big and actually extremely cool in terms of console design. Modern Xboxes should take some cues, I feel, because it's literally an Xbox, Anyway, I'll put that down now because it's far too heavy. When I was growing up, everybody had a PS2. Literally everybody. I didn't know a single person with a GameCube, but I knew that GameCubes were around. I'm sure I saw at least one somewhere. I can't think where, but I knew about things like Mario Sunshine and Mario Kart. Mostly Mario games. Things like the Zelda games on the GameCube and a few of the other GameCube things, possibly because I had a GBA and sort of in tune with the GameCube thing, but I knew of the GameCube, and so it was kind of on my radar at the time. The Xbox, though, I'd never even saw an Xbox at the time, and when I did see one, I was actually quite surprised at how it looked, because I don't know, for some reason, when I first heard about it, I knew that it was a very expensive system, and for some reason I had it in my head when I was little that it was an arcade system, like it was an arcade cabinet. I don't know why I thought that, but either way, I knew that it was this weirdly unattainable item, and I didn't know any Xbox games growing up. I must have come across Halo at some point, but again, just wasn't on my radar. Nobody had an Xbox. It just wasn't the thing. And when I've looked at, I did briefly look at some articles about it earlier, and yeah, it turns out it barely sold anything. In Japan, it sold less than 1 million units, and it didn't do much better in the West. It did well enough for Microsoft to be like, yeah, we're in the games business now, but I'm pretty sure they made a massive loss on it. But never mind, because it was home to some excellent games, and it was much like the Dreamcast. It was very ahead of its time. I look at some of the games that were on the Xbox, and yeah, they were something else. particularly the likes of like the racing games and stuff. They always tend to be really high fidelity for the systems they're on. But anyway, there'll be more on that subject at some point, I'm sure. I would like to do a full-on trying out my new old Xbox video. That would be fun, wouldn't it? But it didn't just come with the system. You may have noticed that there is some sort of doodad in the front, a dongly thing, and that, well, I can only assume, is for this fantastic official DVD remote. This is such a tacky thing. I'm in disbelief that this belongs to the Xbox, which is this cool, sleek, modern, cutting-edge system, and it comes with something that you get free from Sky in the early 2000s. What on earth? And it's got the gummiest buttons. The PS2 DVD remote is... yeah, it's got nothing on that. But the fact that I've got it is pretty cool, isn't it? Hopefully it works. It's not got a battery in it, but I'll test that out. Not only that, but it came with something that you don't often see. And it's surprising because this, well, up until, I think, 2003, it came with every single Xbox. And then they changed it for something else. Are you ready? Here it is. To go with a massive console, you've got a massive controller. And just as a direct comparison, here, my friends, is an Xbox One controller. Look at the look at the difference. Look at the girth. It's a chunker. This is called the Duke. Well, it's not actually called the Duke. It's known as the Duke. This is a massive hench controller. It feels huge. I think it feels quite nice in the hand, to be honest, even if it is a bit of a stretch to get to everything. Those triggers feel amazing, and I like the 6-button layout here. Finally makes sense with the white and black buttons. I was always confused by those when playing Halo 2 on the 360. And what surprises me, I think, most about this is the fact that I always understood it to be this quite sought after and quite well regarded controller. It's unique and it's unusual. It was the first of its. I think it was the first to do the offset analog sticks, for example, and a lot of people remember it quite fondly. So much so that a modern reproduction, very, very, very accurate, I understand, was created of the Duke. And yet, at the time, people thought it was the worst thing ever. It came up as the second worst controller ever in I think it was a PC Gamer article, for instance. And I don't get it, because it's not that bad. I mean, the D-pad is a piece of junk. That's barely a D-pad. That's a wobble. That's just gross. Utterly gross. But the rest of it, it feels really nice. I like it. It's got good analog sticks. It's got really damn good triggers. They've got some, you're going to get a finger workout from those. And, the button layout isn't bad. It's not... they did switch to the old double diamond with the new Xbox. I think it was called the S controller. But this one has this more offset one that reminds me of a Sega Saturn. It's quite good. I like it. It's it fits with the way you hold the controller, and I think it's quite a clever way of doing it. But maybe I'm just in the minority. Maybe the Duke controller is actually considered to be a bit rubbish. But anyway, I'm going to close out now before I go over time, but I just want to say that normally this goes for more than I paid for this whole package, so, feel like I've done well there. Anyway, that's my Xbox. I'm going to talk about it more in a future video, I'm sure. But today I will leave it there, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.